Alright, so today we're going to be talking about different kinds of camping stoves, how to use them, and their advantages and disadvantages. Here we have a selection of the things we'll talk about today. Here we have a canister stove. This is a liquid gas stove. And here's the fuel for our canister stove, and these are both fuel for our liquid gas stove. So we'll be going over all this stuff and how it's used. First we'll be talking about our canister stove. So, this is an MSR model called the PocketRocket. We're going to start by setting up the PocketRocket. First, take it out of its case. Canister stoves operate using pressurized gas, like propane. Pressurized gas doesn't work at high altitude, so it's good for backpacking trips near sea level. This is MSR pressurized gas. It's what you use to power the stove. To set the stove up, make sure the valve is closed by turning it clockwise. Put it on the canister and screw it in until it's all the way on and the rubber seal has sealed. When it's on, you can buy something like this. It's a canister holder and it makes the stove more stable. You open it up like this, find some solid ground, and simply place the canister in like that. To light the stove, you'll need a lighter or some matches. Today we're going to use the lighter. Open the gas until you can hear some coming out. Add your flame from your lighter, and it's lit. Yeah, so that's liquid gas or canister stove. You can tell why it's called the PocketRocket. To turn it off, turn the valve all the way to the right. Like any stove, make sure you leave it for about 5 minutes after you've used it, until it's cooled off enough for you to be able to touch it without burning yourself. To disassemble, just follow the instructions in reverse order. You get the idea. Alright, next up we have liquid gas stoves. Liquid gas stoves are better at high altitude because you pressurize the fuel yourself. Liquid gas is most commonly found in the form of white gas, which you can buy at REI in a canister like this. However, in order to use it with your stove, you have to buy a bottle like this and pour it in. Crown fuel is an inexpensive white gas that's good for use with liquid gas stoves. Today I have a popular liquid gas stove model. This is the MSR WhisperLite. There's other models available, including the Dragonfly, but this one works very well. When you take your liquid gas stove out of the bag, you have several components, different from the canister stove. This is the pump. This is the stove itself. And this is the wind guard. It's a piece of foil. Alright, so now we're going to set up our liquid gas stove. First, take the lid off your fuel. Set it aside, make sure you don't lose it. Next, we're going to put our pump in here. Put in the little hose and then this. Tighten it down to make sure it won't leak. Next, we're going to set up our stove. Make sure it's stable so that your pot doesn't fall over. There's little notches around the edge of the burner here where you put the legs in, like so. Once it's like this, take the fuel bottle. Oh, That's not good. There's an example of why we need to be careful. I didn't have this screwed on all the way, and so my gas started to leak. Alright. So, when you have your pump on all the way, plug it into your stove. Make sure this little bar is on top. And bring this over the top and clip it in. Right here. So that it doesn't fall off. Then, make sure this lever is turned all the way to the right, and pump this about 30 times. Alright, so that's 30 times. Now, set your stove down about like that. The way liquid gas stoves work is liquid gas flows into the stove through this coil. It's called the generator coil. When it comes up next to the burner here, the liquid gas inside is heated and it turns into a vapor which can be burned. In order to turn it into the vapor, the stove has to be warmed. So, with liquid gas stoves, we have to do a process called priming. At the bottom, there's a little bowl. What we want to do is open our valve back here just enough to let a little bit of the liquid gas into the bowl. When you see the bowl with some gas in it, stop and turn the valve off all the way. Now we're going to use our lighter to ignite the fuel down there. The fuel will burn hot. Make sure you don't turn the fuel valve back on until the flames have died down most of the way. If the flames are going all over the place, you can put on your heat barrier early. It's a windy day, so I'm going to put my windshield on now. When the stove is ready to be turned on again, the flames will die down, the noise will change, and flames will start to appear in the upper bowl. Then you can slowly turn the gas back on. The flames will change from orange to blue, and it'll begin to look like a burner. As you can see, my stove is now lit. With liquid gas stoves, since you need to pressurize it yourself, if you're going to be using it for extended periods of time, make sure you keep it pumped up. You can adjust the heat with the valve on the bottle, like the canister stove. When you're done, simply turn the valve off and wait for the stove to go out. Liquid gas stoves tend to get very hot, so make sure that you give it adequate time to cool down. So, those are the major differences between liquid gas and canister stoves. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you.